So I thought it was pretty amazing that in a time when you can't tap your phone, you can't get online, you can't do anything, can't even buy groceries, you can just come out with a chunk of metal and just barter with somebody, and they're willing to take it. I mean, that's the sign that it's like real money.
Hi, I'm Kaiser Johnson with Liberty in Finance, letting you know that as brokers for Miles Franklin, we can help you secure your future with precious metals for personal delivery, vault storage, or your IRA, with some of the best prices in the industry and privacy, security, and personal service that no one else can match. Our number for all orders and questions is 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty in Finance. And back with us today is our good friend Chris Vermeulen from thetechnicaltraders.com. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Elijah.
All right. Well, you recently put out a video on precious metals and how actually a friend of yours paid for gasoline with silver rounds. And I thought that was a really fun video there. I mean, we can often get caught up in the markets, what's happening, and getting back to the fundamentals is important sometimes to realize, at the end of the day, precious metals are physical. They are real. They're outside of the system. And hey, some people actually still accept them nowadays. So can you share with us that story?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm up in Canada, and we've got only a handful of banks. We only have a handful of internet and cell phone providers. There's like 5 of them across the whole country. Very different than the United States, where there's thousands of different banks and support service providers. So anyways, we had one of the largest providers in Canada go down, Rogers, and they of course do phones, cell, internet. And I woke up one morning and like all of Canada was like shut down because so many people use them. And the first thing I could think of was, okay, I'm grabbing my laptop. I'm going to go in, find a cafe that's using a different provider. And it was amazing how hard it was to find a cafe. Find one. I sit down and I'm working away, getting ready for my morning video report. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Chris, how's it going?" And I had no idea who he was. And so he introduced himself. He's a fund manager. He's been following my work for a while. And so we sat down and talked, and he's a big gold bug. Anyway, so he sits down, he goes, "You wouldn't believe what I did this morning." He says, "I got in the car." He goes, "I grabbed some silver rounds," which, I mean, we all love the sound and the feel of physical metals. Anyways, he goes, "I went to the gas station and I brought a silver rounds with me." And he says, I wanted to see if I could fill my car up with gas. And he says, they took the silver rounds at spot price that they could find online, and he let him fill his car up with gas. So I thought it was pretty amazing that in a time when you can't tap your phone, you can't get online, you can't do anything, can't even buy groceries, you can just come out with a chunk of metal and just barter with somebody, and they're willing to take it. I mean, that's the sign that it's like real money. And I just thought it was amazing because it's so true. Like this, here we are in North America. Life is pretty good, pretty easy, first world country. And, the power goes out or we get rain for a few days and we have like towns flooding. My area flooded last October, and the power went out. And of course you need fuel, and it all just loops back like to the very basic. If you don't have metals, you can't get fuel to fill up your generator and to pump things out or to run your car. It's pretty amazing. And it was a kind of an eye opener for me, really, actually, how powerful precious metals are. Because I really never thought you'd be able to actually really use it. I always put it as like a crisis thing. And I didn't realize the internet going down for one day was a crisis where people are pulling out metal and starting to barter. So it's super powerful to have some on hand for sure.
That's just such an amazing story there. And it just brings back to mind that physical precious metals are real and people accept them, which is so fantastic there. And in a crisis situation, whether that be a complete shutdown of the financial system or just a localized shutdown into the internet where maybe your card's not working or whatever, it's good to have that on hand. If we could now move to the technical side of things that you specialize in, the precious metals right now, it seems like the last couple of days we are seeing a bit of a rally there. But we have seen, it seems like a breakdown, at least in the gold chart. What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, so we've had a bounce in gold in the past day and a half, but really that's because gold was oversold. It kind of broke down. That $1674 level for gold was a really critical level, and the charts show it really clearly from on a weekly chart here. We just zoom back. This is a very clear level on the chart. We've talked about, you and I, before. It's a pivot high, pivot low, lots of support, and it's broken down on the weekly chart. And so it kind of got a little bit oversold, and we're getting a knee-jerk reaction, bounce back up. And maybe gold's going to bounce for another week or two or a few weeks. But overall, the trend is down. The damage has been done. To me, on a weekly standpoint, gold is broken down, and it potentially has a long ways to go. I think it could actually slide to maybe the $1,300 or $1,400 level, which may sound really bad, but in the grand scheme of things, if I go off onto a rant from a really high level here, we could go back to 2001. And if we were to just look at the scenario that happened back here, now back here is when we started a super cycle in gold. And then we had a huge run up, and then we had an equities bear market, which pulled gold down. And this was a 34% correction in gold. And then the super cycle continued and rallied up to the 2011 highs. Now, a super cycle is huge. It can last 10 plus years. Well, 2019 is when I think we entered a new super cycle for gold. Gold, from the high that we saw recently down to where it is about 16%. But if we correct all the way down to 14 or 1300, that is a 34% correction, the same type of correction we had during the last bear market in equities. So this would be the exact same scenario unfolding. So a big pullback to 13 or 1400 is in line with what we've seen in the past. It's in the middle of a super cycle. Precious metals, I think, are going to come out blazing at the end of the bear market, and they'll be one of the first and strongest sectors to rally for potentially several years for this second big run up in price, where we could see $2,600, $3,600 gold and silver would all take off. And the silver lining here is that we're at a point here where we could actually accumulate. This is could be the best point to accumulate physical metals or opportunities as it pulls back, and we get it at a discounted price. Because when it turns around after this, we could see a double or triple from here, which is pretty amazing. And we've been waiting for that in the precious metal sector for a long time. So, I mean, it's a bearish outlook short term, but if you can look about a year ahead, I think late 2023 could be absolutely amazing. And this could be the opportunity to actually pick up metals, and, eventually gold miners will be an amazing play. But I think this correction will pull everything down. So it's a little early to jump the gun, but I think we're coming into a really good time in the precious metals market. Weakness is our friend here.
Now, what does the silver chart show? Because I know that broke below that major support level of around 21 quite a few weeks ago. And now we're actually rallying a bit higher. So what is your outlook for silver?
Yeah, so silver and gold, if we were to draw the line across here, so silver broke down quite a while ago. It broke down here back in April. This is right where gold is right now. Gold is just breaking its major support level. It's broken down. It's having a bounce up, just like we saw in silver. And so silver kind of has been leading the move to the downside. And of course, obviously, it's had a little bounce recently, but silver is kind of unwinding, and it's really settling right down into this previous level already, where I'm expecting kind of gold equivalent to come down to. This on gold would be about 13 or 1400 an ounce. So silver's kind of already led the charge down there. There is potential silver could, break down and continue to go lower here. But again, a lot of the value has been unwound. It's starting to get, into a buying zone here. But again, if the market pulls back for another several months, I think we'll see silver continue to unwind. Silver has a way of having these very sharp drops just before it rallies. So same scenario. I think they're all going to move together. If gold is moving down, we're most likely going to see silver and miners move down as well. But the opportunity is going to be there, I think, in due time for picking up things at, the bottom, more or less, the start of the next super cycle in precious metals. And all this is going to come full circle with the US dollar. I mean, if we take a look at the US dollar index, and we zoom back here on the weekly chart, let me just go way back here. Let me just go to the monthly just because it's a little cleaner on the eyes for everybody to see. But if we come back and take a look, we've got this previous high around 120, 121, which is right over here. I think the dollar is going to continue to muscle its way higher, and it might chop around for several bars. It could chop around for 5, 6, even 12 months before starting to break down. And when the dollar comes up to what I think is going to be a major double top and starts to sell off, that is going to be the start of the next major super cycle leg. If you notice right here in 2021 is when the dollar topped out. That's when gold started the mega run from like 250, and started that super cycle. Well, I think we got a little bit more here, but then the dollar is probably going to come down and devalue, and be that big catalyst that's really going to just keep pushing metals and miners higher and higher. So the perfect storm is brewing. I think we still need the equities markets to break down. We need more of a bear market. We need things to cleanse and sell off. And then I think the opportunity is going to be pretty incredible because the dollar should top. And a falling dollar for several years means generally rising commodity or precious metal prices for several years. So that's kind of the scenario I see playing out.
Now, mentioning the stock market, where do you see that right now? Because I know in the last couple of days, we have seen a further breakdown in the price. So do you see there maybe a rally soon, or do you see further downside from here in the short term?
Yeah, when we look at the overall stock market, it's kind of hard to see potentially here, but I think we're going a lot lower. I think right now we're kind of in a complacency stage where it's had a little bit of a bounce. It's testing the lows here, starting to break down. This little complacency bounce, it's hard to see on the monthly chart, but I want to compare what it's like in 2008. It's very similar to this setup here, this complacency pause or bounce. And the same one that we had just over here, which was in late 2000. And then we had a bear market that followed in all of those periods. So if we were to look at what is going on today with the market, we're really just having this complacency bounce. Maybe it might last a couple more months. But really, to me, the bear market, this is the tipping point before we actually see a big unwinding event. How far down does it go? I'm not sure. My technicals are showing potentially a 40% decline from where we are right now. So it's a huge haircut. And the way these markets fall, I mean, it could happen in 2 months. It could happen in 3 months. It could take 2 or 3 years to unwind, a lot like the early 2000 bear market. It took multiple years to unfold. So this is one of the biggest threats right now to the majority of investors, which are baby boomers, retirees, because they are getting close to retirement. They're going to be drawn down potentially for 1 to 3 or 4 years. And withdrawing funds when things are drawn down is a recipe for disaster. You're going to outlive your money. You're going to spend it, before it's being able to grow more money so you can live off the growth. So this is the big scenario. And so if people can step aside or benefit from falling prices and put their money back to work once this bear market comes to an end in a few months or in 2023, they're going to be set. And it's right now, the key is not about trying to make a lot of money. It's about preserving capital and then putting it back to work when the market gives us a new buy signal, when precious metals give us a new buy signal, and then you make your double, your 100%, 200% return over the next couple of years very quickly. Because you sidestepped the bear market, you got back in at a lower price, and then you catch the really strong rallies that happen after bear markets. So if you hold on to things right now, you're going to ride it down, and then you're going to have to ride it back up. You're going to waste a lot of time and stress, energy, really for nothing, when you could let the markets collapse and then get back in down the road. So that's the way I see it. That's the way I attack the markets. I don't believe in holding anything that is falling in value. If it's going down, I'm out, because it defeats the point of what we're trying to do as traders and investors.
Now, what are some ways that people may be able to actually take advantage of the collapse in the stock market? Do you consider shorting or using like reverse ETFs at all?
I do. So We haven't done that yet. We wait for our technical strategy to tell us, okay, now we're in a full-fledged bear market, and we will buy an inverse ETF on the indexes only. And actually, we will buy an inverse ETF on the US dollar as well. UDN is the symbol. So it doesn't matter if the dollar is rising or falling. We can play an ETF that's rising as something is falling. So that's the key here. Now, we're not quite there yet. The market, yes, it's in a bear market, but from a technical standpoint, we're waiting on the next trade setup to play an inverse ETF, and we'll profit from falling prices and be able to take advantage of that. Now, trading in a bear market and falling prices, very different, totally different than what anybody is used to. The markets move fast, they move quick. When you're playing inverse ETFs, you're in and you're out very quickly, sometimes within days, sometimes within a couple of weeks. It's not something you just buy and hold and ride out, because some of the strongest rallies, actually the strongest rallies, short-term rallies, happen during a bear market. And you do not want to be holding an inverse ETF if the market has a reaction and bounces. So you see the drop, you get in, it falls, and then you get out. You're not trying to milk the downside. You're trying to just generate some returns while the market's collapsing, and then reinvest it when we get a new bull market, when dividends are big and everything's undervalued, and go back to work then. So that's our focus.
All right. Well, Chris, we really appreciate your time today. Did you want to share with the viewers where they can find you, and any last thoughts for our viewers?
Sure. Yeah, well, they can find me at thetechnicaltraders.com. And my whole goal there is to help investors protect their investments from falling in value. And we use the proprietary ETF that we only hold assets that are rising in value, so we can preserve and reliably grow your account. So that's our goal. We don't ride things lower. We focus on ETFs. It's very slow, very passive, but it is nice to be holding things that are going up, or watching your account just stay flat when the rest of the market is collapsing.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, once again, thank you so much for your time, and God bless.
Thanks, Elijah. Take care.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we will let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be double boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Elijah, my brother Kaiser, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.